Yahorou-san, this is Yuki, Reality Moderation View Elf, and today I'm going to tell you which anime from the Spring season 2025 you should be watching and absolutely not missing out on. So let's start. For this particular video, I'll be dividing my recommendation into two sections. The first one would be the ones which are continuation of shows that we already had in previous seasons, like 2-3 of them, where there is a second or third season one. And the last part would be about shows that will be absolutely bangers and that will be a hit for this season. But I think that they will not definitely be forgotten because they have their own perks, and I will be speaking about them. Regarding continuation series that I think that you should absolutely follow up on, we have WindBreaker Season 2, which has great animation of fist fights, Blushing Sakura, another main reason why I'm watching it anyway, and the Brotherly Gang Bonds, which again, another thing that I really appreciate about WindBreaker. Also, their ending song reminds me strongly of that one Shouboutai opening song. I feel like if you watch it, you will know what I mean because it's hard to explain. But the lyrics are so beautiful, and I feel like they are the kind which you can take away from the context and listen to them as a piece of art, like a Japanese song in itself, and kind of project your life on it. And the other thing about it is that I really love when in the animation video the character seems like they are also singing, and this is something I find artistic in its own way. Next one on the list we have Enen Shouboutai Season 3, and I hope you are not watching the wrong firefighter anime because that's gonna be a big shock for you, so please be careful about the title when you insert it on your search engine. And the opening this time is made by the amazing Queen Bee. Again, it's one of those songs that I have mentioned earlier that you can take away from the context and listen to it as its own piece of art. And I personally was very much emotionally touched by the lyrics before I even knew it's actually the new opening for the Shouboutai Season 3. The story is actually moving on in a more confrontational way, I would say, because in Season 1 and Season 2 I feel like things were a bit kind of goes high up in certain episodes and then kind of cools down very quickly, and you have to be really patient with a lot of relationship building, story building episodes. But here things are moving forward together, and now we have the background story for every single character we need. We know who's the enemy, we know the goal, we know how far it's gone. So it's like there is this burst of plot coming up, and I'm really looking forward to that. There was a good power up few episodes in the beginning right now, and I think they kind of moved on. They were like, we're not spending like 300 episodes on the training arc. No, we are not doing this here. So I really like that. And the thing about the plot right now is that it's gonna focus more on the Adola Burst secrets and the Great Flame of Soul Evangelist control. And for me, I really love how the story, although it's using all this kind of church fantasy terms in a own way, and of course they are made especially for this particular anime, but probably they are inspired from some other stories and other Christian concepts, how it has a reflection on ideologies that we can compare to some existing situation in real life, where an extremist exclusive mindset takes over all the cranny and nooks of a whole country or continent, creating confusion and misinformation. This is how I felt about it. Well, I already spoke about Aharen-san is Indecipherable Season 1 in one of my videos where it's speaking especially about Dandere characters. But if you want to get a summary of that particular anime, you can go back to that older video I created. And Season 2 is out, and I have to state again, it's one of my favorite rom-coms. Like, in a way that it's mostly comedy, like not really as much romance at all. Like, I don't see the romance actually, but it's there, yeah. So for me, Aharen-san, why it's such a successful show, it's mainly because it's an ultimate combo of neurodivergent mindset and wild imagination. And I'm just in love with that. I just love it when people overthink things to an extreme extent, and the amount of crazy information they have about that particular idea, and then it really turns out that it has nothing to do with whatever they are going through. And they added a new Gyaru character, a new Gyaru friend, and I really love Gyaru characters, so that's a nice addition for this season. So I hope you enjoy it the same as me too. Let me get started on that crazy new show called To Be Hero X. I mean, I saw a lot of people praising it online before I started, and I had my own doubt about it because it had this mixed animation of 2D, 3D, Chinese, Japanese production. It's first time, maybe it's not exactly the first time, but it's a really remarkable new project that's coming up, and it's an original story. The truth is actually the series itself, To Be Hero, had 2 other seasons which are Chinese, but I couldn't find them anywhere online to watch them, and this is like a third sequel of it. But the thing is that because those 2 seasons are not available in any translations as far as I see, I might assume this is a separate story. Like, it might be related to a series, but it's not necessarily related in terms of the plot line. At least the characters are brand new, so maybe there were different heroes, different characters in the other 2 seasons. This is what I can assume. So if I have to compare To Be Hero X to any show we know so far on our list, I would say it's like a fusion, like a really beautiful fusion between Boku no Hero and Arcane. Kind of strange, but it's the case. That's how they did it. And it is mind-blowing combination of the 2D and 3D art style. Also, there is a great variation, not only of the animation, but also the drawing style. Like in the same episode, you experience at least 3, 4, 5 different drawing styles of different scenes. I'm like, am I watching an anime? Am I watching a cartoon? Is it something else completely? Is it like an artist's sketch? I really love that. Absolutely, I really love that. I find that really, really amazing in many ways. And also, it probably takes a lot of effort to put together all these styles and to make them coherent and beautiful. So I have nothing to say about it. Also, I'm excited for the plot. It has a very high-paced event. I mean, in 2 episodes, I feel like the amount of events that happen, it's probably equal to what would happen typically in maybe 10 episodes in a regular anime, with all the details going on bit by bit. So I really have great hopes for it, great expectations. I hope they don't disappoint us either. And I would recommend absolutely watching it. The opening is a banger. Like, you will get addicted on it. It's in English, actually. The next one I would like to nominate for the most memorable, I would say, anime for this season is Witch Watch. And I think a lot of people like me are actually surprised that Witch Watch was picked for animation because it's an extremely older manga. Something I remember picking up in the public library when I was 12 years old for a couple of volumes, and then I never really looked back to it. But honestly, they did a great job. Like, it's full of other anime references and parodies. It reminds us a bit of Gintama joke style. The main girl is such a talented witch, but she lives on one brain cell, which makes her always in the position of being saved by her protective childhood friend slash demon familiar, who's always there to save her ass. Because honestly, the number of choices she makes and that lead to disasters are unbearable. You get secondhand embarrassment while watching her. But I love her. Like, she's extremely cute. I love how, in like common shonen fantasy settings, the main girl has her feelings and expectation underlined clearly since first episode, and you didn't get that unnecessary stupid confusion for 50 episodes until they admit things internally. So yeah, I really love the heroine there, and regardless of whether the romance part really works out or no, I feel like the plot itself is funny and I'm enjoying it, so I will absolutely keep watching this one. I bet you have heard maybe of your Forma, because some people already started posting about it. They are saying that it's such a nice fusion between Psycho-Pass and ID Invaded. If you watched any of these, if you are big, huge fan like me of Psycho-Pass, you will absolutely love your Forma. So you got already a feel about it when I mentioned these two, and the story is detective sci-fi genre. This is the setting. So here it's a bit of indirectly spoiler about the main events, but I was kind of impressed that they used the one where the MC gets framed by, like, you know, sometimes there is this trend in detective anime where probably one of the 2 main detectives get framed for being a terrorist or being a criminal or stuff like that. But this is something that typically happens maybe in the 2nd season, or happen maybe last 5 episodes, just to create some tensions in the end to keep people watching it. But the fact that that happened literally on the 1st episode, I feel like that's something that I was not expecting at all. And the next episode, one of the 2 detectives literally get kidnapped, which is again something I'm used to seeing just in the last episodes of the shows, detective shows, or something that you see in season 2 or season 3, or maybe somewhere in the volumes in the books. It definitely was a trigger for me to keep following this particular anime. It's like saying, you have no way of escaping because I'm gonna keep you always stressed no matter how much you watch. So there is no point in starting with smaller cases and then moving on to bigger cases like we are used typically in detective anime, but practically they could say, oh, you can just, start really strong, get you hooked on it, and then you deal with it. Well, another show that kept coming up on my feed is called Lazarus. And I have to say that I found out a really interesting fact about Lazarus. Apparently, the name itself, Lazarus, is inspired from a story of Lazarus being brought back to life by Jesus, and is known from the Gospel according to John 11:11.1. It is about the concept of being brought back to life. And this organization called Lazarus, it sort of kidnapped certain people to force them into a new setting. So I think the choice of the name was not deliberate. It definitely has a link to this Christian concept, which I think can be quite insightful in this particular situation. If I have to compare the anime Lazarus to what we know in the genre, I would say it's like a combination between Subete ga F Ninaru and Cowboy People. So if you love Cowboy People, then you will absolutely love Lazarus. I wouldn't say really it's set up in modern US, because, I mean, it's what's happening now in the anime could be as well happening to tomorrow in real life US. So It's not really apocalyptic or anything. It's just, it could be just happening any day nowadays with what's going on. So let's say it's happening in the US. It's normal. It's a story where there is a sort of normal painkiller called Hapna, which was discovered 3 years later that it's a little drug, and apparently a lot of people were taking it. And the main reason why it was discovered is because the scientist who made it and who sold it out to the pharmaceutical companies, he claimed that he did it in particular to kill humanity. So everyone who took it since 3 years ago until now is most likely gonna die in 1 month. People have to find this scientist and they have to get out the real antidote from him, or whether he's lying or no, or what's gonna happen to humanity because everyone was taking this particular drug. So a lot of things going on there. I would say what brought me to this anime, what made me definitely stay, is the character of Axel, who's voiced, of course, by the famous Mamoru Miyano, and who in particular knows no fear, no physical or jumping limits ever. Like, all his aerobatic kind of movement are so astonishing. That really made me think, oh wow, I love to watch this. And again, I'm really curious about his teammates in the Lazarus organization, which are Christine, Elena, Leland, and Dog, who's voiced by Makoto Furukawa. And Makoto Furukawa is also voicing King Gray in the beginning after the end. So as a non-manhwa reader, non-webtoon reader, non-light novel reader for the beginning after the end, I'm just one of those really simple-minded people who just bargain in trying to watch the anime, totally knowingly that they are messing up very badly the real plot or whatever it is. So I'm gonna be just judging the beginning after the end just based on the anime. Like, I really don't have any idea about the light novel or the webtoon. So this is my own pure opinion from the episodes I watched so far. The show overall is not bad. The voice acting for the cast is top tier. This is what I would say. I like how the main character didn't drop the king aura and thinking when he assessed the situation. So when he became like reincarnated as a child, he didn't totally start speaking like child, thinking like child, and kind of forgetting totally everything, because the fact that he still remembers who he is and his own experiences and judging things from his own lens as a king, I feel like that's what really makes the series quite special. The animation can be a bit problematic in fast action scenes. You can see there are a lot of things that absolutely don't make sense. I mean, even if you follow really well with your eyes. And there is a huge lack of background information and explanation around the world system and creatures. Like, as somebody who's going in completely blank with no idea how this world system works out, I feel like it's lacking heavily on information, and especially explaining who are these side characters, who are these people speaking in this excluded scene, what are these fairies, are these enemies or no, what are they trying to achieve. I feel like usually in isekai anime, things are supposed to be more self-explanatory. There will be always small panels, there will be a narrator, there will be somebody like side supporting character that gives a lot of information. But here I'm totally lost. Like, I feel really lost. Like, you feel like it's a great show, it's a great story, but you just don't know so many things. Because you don't know so many things, you cannot judge it fairly, and you cannot say whether this is gonna be absolutely success story or just mediocre. So I'm planning to give it its own chance until the end, like watch the anime and see how it goes. And of course, if I feel like really intrigued, I feel like or completely lost, then I might just go ahead and read the webtoon, because that's the least I can do. I mean, there is actually this one witch show that is coming up this season, which caught my attention because of the title, Upon a Witch Death. And I love witches, and the title is interesting, so why not? So if I have to compare Upon a Witch's Death to a particular anime, I would say it's like a fusion between Elena the Witch and Frieren. So if you know Elena, you know Frieren, you get something in between. Well, our protagonist is not the kind of girls who have like a huge ego like Elena, and she's not necessarily as wise as Frieren, but I guess she gets a bit of both in different ways, because you get to experience this magical world where there are witches who have some unusual spells who can help people, but at the same time there is a bit of angst and sadness vibes despite having monstrous positivity. So our protagonist, she's a really positive person, she's really hopeful, but she gets told one day you are actually dying in 1 year, and this is not something you can solve easily. It is congenital, and you have to collect like 10,000 tear joys in order to survive, which is an extremely hard task. Like, literally by mathematics she's supposed to collect 3 in every day, but the truth is that she only got like 2 after 2 weeks, so it's really questionable whether she will really survive or no. So I hope that you watch it, and thank you everyone for watching. そしてまたね